In the 3rd century BC, world civilization stood at a curious crossroads. In the west, Alexander the Great of Macedon was sweeping across 3 continents with his invincible phalanxes. He conquered lands with sword and fire. But when he died suddenly in his prime in Babylon, his vast empire collapsed in an instant. At the other end of the Mediterranean, the young Roman Republic had just defeated the brilliant General Hannibal in the brutal Punic Wars. They began to explore an order based on citizenship, law, and the collective decision-making of the Senate. But in the Far East, a man named Ying Zheng was conducting an experiment on a grander scale, with a more absolute will and with a more permanent impact than any in human history. While Alexander and Rome expanded through space, Ying Zheng chose to take root in the depths of time. The Roman Empire eventually fell into irreparable fragments centuries later. To this day, Europe remains a collection of dozens of sovereign states. But the political entity established by Qin Shi Huang called China, through 2,000 years of repeated collapse and reconstruction, has always maintained the same cultural and political core. To understand Qin Shi Huang, one must first understand the bloody living hell he faced. China was then in the Warring States period, and the sheer brutality of its warfare far exceeded that of the Western world at the time. In Europe back then, a battle involving a few thousand people was seen as a major fate-deciding conflict. But in China, in a single battle, the Battle of Changping, the state of Qin buried alive 400,000 surrendered soldiers of the state of Zhao. The Qin State at that time was not a feudal kingdom in the traditional sense. It was more like a total society precisely engineered for war. Before King Yingzheng, Shangyang implemented a series of brutal reforms, completely uprooting the aristocratic class that had endured for 1,000 years. He flattened the entire society of Qin. Every commoner was turned into a gear within the state machine. Shangyang's reforms mandated that the only path for social advancement for a commoner was to collect enemy heads on the battlefield, kill one person, gain 1 rank of nobility, kill 2 people, receive a piece of land. If you recoiled on the battlefield, your family would suffer collective punishment, and even your entire community could be executed. This system of meritocracy, based on military success, made Han the first state in history to achieve total mobilization. While Rome still relied on the sense of honor of its citizen soldiers, Qin had already turned every plow-wielding farmer into a cold-blooded killing machine. This efficiency made the Qin army appear to the other 6 states not as a human army, but as a pack of ravenous beasts. This is the part that shocks Western archaeologists the most. When we disassemble the bronze weapons excavated from the terracotta army pits, we discover a terrifying truth. The great Qin Empire achieved standardized mass production 2,000 years ago. Imagine, in that era, the components of Qin crossbows actually achieved complete interchangeability. Every bronze trigger, every gear, had its margin of error controlled within an extremely small range. This meant if a soldier's crossbow broke on the battlefield, he didn't need a specialized craftsman. He only had to pick up a part from a fallen comrade to instantly fix his weapon and keep fighting. This modern industrial concept predated Europe's Industrial Revolution by 2,000 years. Bronze swords from other countries at the time were usually only 50 to 60 centimeters long, because the alloy of bronze is very brittle. If made too long, it would easily snap upon impact. But Qin's swordsmiths, through precisely adjusting the ratio of tin and lead and using layered casting techniques, produced longswords nearly a meter in length. This gave the Qin army a natural advantage in striking distance during close-quarters combat. Even more incredible is that the surfaces of these arrowheads underwent a chrome salt oxidation anti-rust treatment. This is a chemical technology that was not patented by German and American laboratories until the 20th century. This explains why these arrowheads, buried for 2,000 years, remained as sharp as new when they saw the light of day again, capable of easily piercing a modern human's palm. This is the part that Western audiences find most baffling, yet most fascinating. Why did Europe move toward fragmentation after the collapse of Rome, while China always manages to pull back together after its collapses? The answer lies in the fact that Qin Shi Huang did not just unify borders on a map. He unified the underlying protocol of civilization. He installed an operating system for China that could never be deleted. The Roman Empire attracted foreign peoples by granting citizenship and through cultural assimilation. But once the military core of the empire dissolved, linguistic barriers and differing ethnic identities ensured Europe would never return to a single roof. But Qin Shi Huang forcibly erased the scripts of the 6 states upon their ruins and implemented a brand new writing standard, small seal script. From then on, no matter how diverse the accents of the Chinese people, no matter how isolated the geography, they read the same characters and followed the same logic. This unification of script allowed the ideology of great unity to transcend bloodlines, religion, and become the sole source of legitimacy for this civilization. Compared to the protection of private property and individual contracts in Roman law, Qin law emphasized an absolute collective control. In the famous Qin bamboo slips of Shui, we see the terrifying extent to which Qin law intervened in daily life. If your crops grew pests, if the walls you built were not sturdy enough, or even if you were late for your official duties, you would face severe legal prosecution. It was a social grid built on fear and collective responsibility. Qin Shi Huang sacrificed everyone's freedom, privacy, and warmth solely to gain the empire's ultimate survival efficiency. This logic, that order is superior to freedom, was buried deep into the foundations of Eastern governance, influencing the 2 millennia that followed. To maintain this massive and monolithic standard, Qin Shi Huang decided to erase history. He ordered the burning of all books that did not conform to the ideology of Great Qin. He buried alive the scholars who tried to judge the present with the morality of the past. Western audiences might ask, isn't this a regression of civilization and a catastrophe? For Qin Shi Huang, this was an extreme political choice. Do you want 7 small states constantly fighting internally, leaving fields of corpses? Or do you want a single, albeit oppressive, great empire that can end war? He firmly believed that diversity of thought was the fuse for civil war. What he wanted was an efficient, noiseless empire. He killed the Confucians who preached morality, but meticulously protected doctors, diviners, and agricultural experts. He tried to transform China into a giant, never-resting factory. As the empire's territory reached its limit, this man who had conquered the world began to fear his only and most ruthless enemy. That enemy was death. he dispatched Xu Fu with 3,000 young boys and girls to the legendary Eastern Seas to find the Mountain of the Gods. Some even speculate that this lost fleet eventually became the seeds of Japanese civilization. During his tours of the country, he believed the lies of alchemists and began consuming elixirs containing large amounts of mercury. He thought it was the medicine for immortality, but unknowingly, he ended his own life, and in his tomb, this underground palace that remains sealed and unopened to this day. According to the astonishing records of the Shiji, there are rivers, lakes, and seas infused with mercury, driven by mysterious machinery, flowing day and night. Modern geological surveys show that the mercury content in the soil of that area is indeed hundreds of times higher than the surroundings. This is not just a grave, it is a miniature universe he built for himself, attempting to defy death in eternity. However, history played an extremely cruel joke here. Qin Shi Huang spent his life's effort trying to build an iron empire that would last for 10,000 generations. He believed that as long as the laws were strict enough and the standards were unified enough, Great Qin could endure forever. But less than 3 years after his death, this seemingly invincible empire collapsed amidst skyrocketing rage. He built the Great Wall to fend off the nomads of the grasslands. But he could not stop the fury that erupted from within the very heart of the empire due to extreme oppression. His descendants were slaughtered, and his bloodline was completely severed in the fires of war. From the perspective of a father, a patriarch, Qin Shi Huang was a total lonely failure. But if we look at it from the perspective of civilizational evolution, he won, and he won absolutely. Because every Chinese ruler thereafter, no matter which ethnic group they came from, no matter how they seized power, they would eventually inevitably return to the operating system set by Qin Shi Huang. He is not just a historical figure, he is a mountain range defining the supreme code of Eastern politics. Great unity. Qin Shi Huang is a nightmare for the West, but a cornerstone for the East. He represents the ultimate balance in the distribution of power in human history. For the eternity of the collective, exactly how much individual freedom can we sacrifice? Europe chose plurality and competition, which led to the later Renaissance and the explosion of the scientific revolution. But China chose unity and order, which resulted in a civilizational colossus that could restart time and again through 2,000 years of stormy waves, never to perish. These two choices have no absolute right or wrong, only a heavy price. The next time you are struck by the rise of the East, please remember, all this power and heaviness, all this stability and cost, lie buried in the shadow of that man from 2,000 years ago. That man who, in his lonely carriage, firmly believed he could rule eternity, but who ultimately turned to dust in his shadow.